How you going? My name's Craig Graham. I'm the founder of Backyard Surfboard Shapers on Facebook. Today I'm just going to be going through some of the tools that I have for making boards. As you can clearly see, I'm in my garage. I don't profess to know everything. These are just some basic ideas as well on shaping and what you can do to get started. So first of all, I'll just load the camera. I'll go through some of the tools. So everyone starts off with basically this tool here. This is a surf form. As you can see, it's got a rasp on the bottom. Very, very important thing to have. This is probably your go-to tool for nearly everything that you're going to do with a surfboard. Next, got some calipers. These ones are from Shapers. They're quite accurate. They've got a little measuring thing on the side there, you can see. Just down there, and that will allow you to measure the thickness of your board. That's very important, knowing how thick you're shaping your board. Got two little mini planes. You got this one. This one's very handy for doing noses, because this one here, which is a little one, won't fit in the curve of your board. So quite important to have something that will fit inside the curve of your board. Got various sanding blocks. This is just a bit of probably 60 grit on the back of a bit of 2x4. Very handy for getting your boards nice and flat. This is a Shapers soft foam one. As you can see, it's quite bendy and flexy. Really good for when you want to do decks, concaves and things like that. There's a specific one you can use for concaves, which is this one here. As you can see, it's got a nice curve in it. You can get other ones, but I quite like that one. These have also got, as you can see, you can take the mesh off. They've just got a little bit of Velcro there on the back of them. Sponges are very handy with your Shapers mesh. This is quite well used now. These are really good for doing rails and also for smoothing out your board at the end, keeping it nice and clean. Got a rail gauge here. These come in quite handy if you want to get your rails nice and accurate and even on both sides. Very handy for especially in the middle of the rail. You can get different styles. I think this one's for a shortboard. It even says it on there, shortboard. You can get ones for fishers and the like. This is a very handy little piece of tool. It's just cut out foam. You can put pencils through it. Some people like to do that. I've got little marks there where I can measure how wide I'm going to put my lines on when I'm doing my rails. That comes in very handy for making sure your rails are nice and even and getting your cuts in at the right angle. Electric planer. My go-to is a Makita. Makita is probably one of the best quality ones you can get, apart from maybe Skill. Skill does an excellent planer. Get something that's going to cut at least 2.5 mils depth per cut. That is really important to get your cuts nice and even, and don't spend too much time cutting your deck. Do all your cuts off the bottom. It's a little square. Allows you to mark your fins out as well as your width, which is really accurate, and allows you to keep everything nice and square. If you don't have something like that, something like this is also handy. Just a little 90 degree right angle. Comes in handy. So those are the tools that I've got when I'm doing boards, and of course can't miss out on a pencil. And one last little tool that I've got here, I use a 6B pencil, makes it nice and easy to see the lines. There's a little rasp. These ones are really good for getting into the back of your board when you're doing swallowtails, really handy. So those are the tools that I've got. Go through some blanks. Got a variety of blanks here. So, variety of quality of blanks. The one that's on the rack at the moment on the shaping stand is a first. This is a second quality blank. These are from Burford's. It's the 68C. Not entirely sure why this one's a second. I personally can't see anything wrong with it. What they do is they hold it up against a light and they see any defects, and it's quite a powerful set of lights that you can hold the blank up against and you'll see any defects in the board. So that one's a second for some reason. Not entirely sure why. These two, these are rejects, and you'll understand why when I show you. As you can see, it's got an R on there saying it's a reject. If I show you the tail, you'll see and understand exactly why. We've had a blowout when they put it in the mold, in the paper mold. You can see the paper is underneath that section there. What that does is actually causes this section of the board to be really soft. So that part of the board, while it's not too bad, is not ideal for, you know, if you want best quality boards. But I'll be using that one for one of my own boards. And this one here is also a reject. You can see the R there. If I hold it up close, you'll see there's bubbles all through the blank. They're not too bad, this one. You've seen a lot worse. You can get ones with really, really big holes. Also got holes on the bottom as well. So you can see there's a hole there. Yeah, I've seen a lot worse. But yeah, when you hold it up against the light, you'll see those bubbles staring you in the face. And straight away, that's a reject. But you can get ones with massive big bubbles in them, and you actually have to fill those ones up. These ones probably can get away with it. But it does make that board through the middle section a little bit weaker. So that's a couple of blanks there. Again, I use Burford blanks. They're made up here on the Gold Coast. One of the best blank manufacturers in the world. And I think they still are the biggest blank manufacturer in the world, although I could be wrong. But at the time when I worked there, they were the second biggest behind Clark Foam. Anyway, those are the blanks. Those are some of the tools. Let's get to it. Alright, so we're ready to shape our board. First thing you want to do is make a template for your board. I've got lots of templates over here. As you can see, you make a lot over a period of time. You can make your own, either get yourself an old board and do it that way, or you can use a website like Blending Curves. That'll allow you to actually print your templates off, and then you can cut it onto MDF, which is what all these are on. Got a variety of templates for fishers, shortboards, hybrid boards, fun boards, mini mouse, all sorts of things. So you get a lot of these over a period of time. I tend to do them in halves. Other people will do entire boards. So you get one template for a board. So it's up to you as to what you want to do. I prefer these. You get to mess around with them a bit more. Anyway, the first board that I'm doing today is a hybrid fun board. I've actually drawn on here already, but I'm not happy with the outlines. I was just playing around with it, making sure I had it right for mate down in South Oz, which I'm making this board for. But yeah, not happy with the outlines on here, so I'm going to just skin the deck, skin the bottom, and yeah, draw templates on again. It's probably easy to skim the board anyway and do your templates on a nice clean board. Some of the blanks will actually end up with some defects in them where foam has come away when they pulled the paper off. That in turn means you're going to get little wavers in your lines, and you don't really want that. Oh yeah, that's a tool I forgot. A handsaw. You will need a handsaw. Anyway, I'm going to skin this board, get the skin off it so I can use the foam. If you're using a surf form to skin your board, it's going to take forever. So I prefer to use the electric planer. It's a lot quicker, a lot easier. I do skin the nose, though, using a the surf form. Some people will actually use an orbital sander, or a disc sander I should say, which makes it really easy to skin the deck. Right, so I've got mask on, earmuffs on, got my electric planer, I'm ready to skin. What I like to do is I like to skin from the outside across. When I first started shaping boards, I started in the middle, and you end up getting little divots across your board. Cutting this way from left to right makes it a lot smoother across the board. You don't get any big divots. Keeps the board nice and even. So that's what we're going to do. Get nice and noisy. So there's the first cut. You might notice that as we cut, you'll get this marking along the deck or along the bottom of the board. That's caused by the planer going too fast over the blank. At this stage it doesn't matter. It's generally your last cut when you're working out your thickness and getting close to your thickness. You want to start doing it slow. You can get shaper's barrels, which are really handy. This has just got a standard barrel on the bottom, which is what causes that. But it's no biggie, we'll keep going. I didn't have that set very low, it was at 1.5 mil. So I go to 2.5. You might notice also that I actually keep the planer on a bit of an angle. That just makes it a little bit easier to plane, I find, and keeps it smoother so you don't get those big deep rivets in the cut as you go along. Alright, so I've just skinned the bottom of the board. What I'm going to do next is going to draw the template on there so I know exactly where to cut for my outline. Tape measure, and this is your other go-to item. If you don't have one of these are available with shapers. Can't remember how much they are. They're not expensive, really handy. Otherwise, 90-degree angle so you get your boards nice and square. I'm making a hybrid board, this time hybrid fun board. I've got templates for them. So this is my tail template for that, and square version, and also nose template, which is that one. So this is a, as you'll notice, nose wing hybrid for up to 5.9. I'm actually doing a 5.10 for this one, so I can play around with the templates to get them where I need to. So we'll do that. Now again, this is a really basic video on how to shape boards for when you're starting as a backyarder. You'll notice that all these blanks have got rockers built into them already. If you want to get really technical, you can start measuring the rocker if you know what rocker you want. If you're just looking at the blank, this is actually quite a flat rocker. You can shape a little bit extra into these blanks, which is generally what you do anyway, because you want to get your tail thickness down and your nose thickness down. So you do some blending with the planer as you go along. But all I generally do is I go, is it a high rocker board, is it a low rocker board? I'll get my blank accordingly, and then I'll pick what rocker I want in the blank and move my measurements around accordingly. So I'm doing a fairly low rocker, so I'm going to do a bit more towards the rear, so I'm not using all the nose rocker. And that'll make it a little bit easier for me to play around with it as well. So tape measure, pencil, and actually I need to cut that. Anyway, so I'm going quite close to the rear, so I'll make a little mark. So I'm about 1 inch from the back of the blank there. Pop that into the phone. First measurement is 12 inches up. So that's actually a really important measurement because that lets you know how wide your tail is going to be at 12 inches. Halfway point is another important measurement because we're going to go to the midpoint. So this is a 5'10", so I want to go to 1 inch under 3 feet. Put a mark there. And we're going 5'10", so I'll make 5'10" mark, which is there. So I've got quite a little bit of room left at the end of the blank. I've got maybe 4 inches on this blank, and then we go back 12 inches for that nose measurement as well. Next thing we do is measure the midpoint. So get it nice and square. There's a line along the middle of this template which I can actually run along the stringer. And this will let me know exactly how wide this board is. So we're going 20 1/4. So what I do is draw a line across the board. Go to 20 1/4, which is there. And then put a little mark on the board so I know exactly how wide that is, 20 1/4. And make sure it's square. And 20 1/4. So you'll notice on here, you got all the numbers. Even though these aren't actually 1 inch, they're 1/2 inch, all the markings will let you know exactly how wide your board's going to be. So because I know approximately where my templates go, I've got little marks on here so I know what they need to be. We go from there. So lay the template on the board, get your markings, make sure it's nice and flat. And draw your pencil line on. And it's as easy as that. So again, so I've just flip this over, get the mark in the right spot, line it up. And there we go. So that's the nose template done. What I'll do now is just measure the width, make sure it's even at the 12 inch mark, and if not then I can adjust it accordingly. If you want to get really particular with boards, you can do your measurements beforehand and then adjust your templates accordingly. So we are at 14 3/8 on that side, 14 1/2 on that side. So just adjust the template, make sure it's right. Really important to keep your templates nice and square so you're not mismeasuring. So, okay, they're bang on. Even on both sides, so I just put a mark across there anyway. But yeah, that's just under 14.5 and that's just under 14.5, so I'm pretty happy with that. So next thing, tail. Where is the tail template? There it is, that one. So I'm just going to measure the 12-inch mark on that. Make sure that's even. So it's 15 3/4, bang on. Nice. So what I'm going to now do is, yeah, it's a pretty good curve. Turn over, get the other side, and that way I get my nice squash tail template fitting in. So there we have it, the template's drawn on. Pretty happy with how that looks. Really important that you don't end up with a wide spot further back than where your midpoint is, if that's where your wider spot's supposed to be. Okay, so we're at the point where we're about to cut the outline. I've just got a normal handsaw, Stanley handsaw. Not too big a tooth pattern on it. You don't want to take too much foam out on the side when you're cutting. Really important that you keep your blade nice and vertical as you go. What I do is I cut right next to the line. Hence why it's important to keep it vertical. Because if you end up with a slight incline or outline, you'll end up with a different cut on the other side of the board. So make sure you keep it nice and square. Start off by cutting the ends off. Now if you need to make one of those little foam tools that allows you to measure your rail cuts, you can use the end of a board and cut it out of that. That's what I did. You can get more complex if you want to, but yeah, you don't need to. So again, cutting nice and close to the edge of the line. At this point of the curve, it's probably going to be a bit too hard for me to cut nice and evenly close to that line. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit away from it, and then I'll use my surf form to clean that up afterwards. Nice and vertical, right next to the line. That way you've got less actually to clean up afterwards. Makes it really easy to clean up your lines afterwards and not end up with too many bumps in your blank on your outline. It's all about being as efficient as possible when you're shaping the board. Quite vertical, as you can see, and you can see if I blow that away, you can see actually how close I've cut to the line. You can see at the beginning of the board I've cut away from the nose, just because that curve is just a bit too much. But you can see I'm cutting right next to the line with a nice vertical saw. You can see the outline of the board here. what you're looking for when you look down the line is you're looking for any inconsistencies, any bumps. Hopefully you've got those out of your template as you do it. So I'll finish cutting that, and we'll come back once I've finished cutting it. Alright, so I've cut the outline. As you can see, it's actually really close to the line where I've cut. That's actually made it a lot easier for me to do the next part, which is clean it up. And what we're going to do is be looking down the line as we clean it up and making sure there's no irregularities in it, so it's a nice smooth curve. And the easiest way to do that is to look along the edge of the board, do it on both sides, and make sure it's nice and clean and as vertical as possible. So for that I use a surfboard. Ordinarily I'd have lights set up on both sides of the board. They make shaping a lot easier so you can see the shadows. So I look down the line of the board and I can see at the moment there's not too many real bad bumps in it. There's a little one just there which I'll clean up as I go. And what I want to do is just get it just on the pencil line. The important thing here is don't do little movements. Everything you do is big. If you start off small, then gradually get bigger. That's the best way to shape out the bumps. Start on the bump, little one, get bigger. Make sure you blend it. But always look down your line and look for the bumps on the pencil line. So you will notice that there's little bits where the saw's gone. Don't worry about them too much, they'll clean up as you go along, especially when you start doing your rails. Down the end here, I've actually got a line that runs around, so I'm just going to shape that in for my squash tail. You notice you can be pretty rough with the blank as you go, but the closer you get towards your finished product, the more refined you want to be with your movements. Can't see too many bumps, in fact I can't see any. But really important that as you continue along your board, you're continually checking, because you'll find that you may end up with a spot in your rail that's a little bit wider. So what I generally do is, as I'm going along, I'll just check against the template, make sure everything's nice and sweet still with the template. I'll continue on, do the other side, and we'll go from there. Right, so I've just spent a little bit of time cleaning up the board, making sure the rails are nice and even. If we look down the line, can't really see anything major with it, but I'll just continually check that as I go along the board. Maybe a little bit on the left, right about through there, as you can see on the camera. But generally pretty happy with that, and I'll just continually check that as I go along the board. It's probably another bump just up on the left there, just up through here. Didn't really see that with the camera. So about through here, there's a little bump. So I'll clean that up a bit more, and we'll continue on from there, and I'll skin the rest of the board. Alright, so I've just skinned the deck. I only ever do 2 cuts on the deck only. The reason being is that polyurethane foam tends to be a bit more dense near the surface. The deck cops an absolute hiding. No matter how strong you glass it, you're going to get depressions. So to prevent that a little bit more, just 2 passes on the planer is enough to get all the skin off it, and it'll make it nice and clean. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure how thick this blank is. Get my little measuring tool here. Now we're going through the middle of the board. Work out approximately where it is, go back and forth. You'll work out where your thick point is. They're going along the stringer, by the way. Pop it out. I can see this blank's 3 inches thick, so I've got about 1/4 inch to take off because I'm going to shape this board to 2 3/4. For a guy who's 95 kilos, so we want a bit of volume in the board, keep some meat in it, and yeah, so I won't have to take too much off. Probably only take 1/8 of an inch because I'm going to do a concave through it as well, and I only want the concave to be about 1/8 of an inch as well. That way it's not too deep. Some people prefer deep concaves, I prefer them just nice and subtle, but that's just my preference. Anyway, so I'm just going to take a little bit more off the bottom. Alright, so I've cut that down to now 2 7/8. So I've got 1/8 of an inch to play with when I do my concave. What I want to do now is I'm actually going to cut in the rocker in the tail and then in the nose. Now I want to preserve a fair bit of volume through the nose, so I'm going to only cut a short section of it. I'll try and change the camera angle so you can see exactly what I'm doing. It gets really messy. The biggest tip I can give is that you want to blend it. So you start small, work your way forward with the planer. It'll take a really long time if I try to do it with the surf form, but I can do it really quickly and fairly accurately with the planer, and then I can just play around with it with the surf form at the finish. So I'll go ahead and do that. Alright, so I've just changed the angle of the rack so that it's a bit easier to see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a mark of about how thick I want the tail to be, which is about 3/4 of an inch for this particular board. So I'm just going to get the pencil and a little tape measure. Now of course the deck is what we're measuring from, so we want the underside of this as it is at the moment. And just put a little mark there at 3/4 inch. So I know that's about how deep that I want to plane this board as I blend it in. So I'm going to be blending into about this point here on the board, maybe a fraction further forward. That'll get in a nice rocker. You can get really technical with rockers if you want to and get big blocks of wood. It's neither here nor there from my personal experience, but you can get really technical with your rockers. But if you're beginning, you don't need to. Just work off the rocker that you've got in the blank and just eyeball it. That's what I do. So again, blending to about this point here. I've set that planer at about 1.5 mils so that I've got some room to work with, and I don't end up with big, what we call little bumps as we come up. Bit easy to blend it when they're small. So we're just going to do that now. And it's the same process when you do the nose, except you want it to go a little bit further. So I start in the middle for this one and work out and across like that. Again, all this is a lot easier to see when you've got lights on either side, so you can see the shadows of the board. I'll set that up more when I go to do the rails and do all the fine tuning. At this stage, not so important. I can still see generally what's going on, even though I've only got an overhead light and one to the side there. That's pretty close to what I actually want. So now all I'm doing is looking along here, looking along the rail line to see if there's any bumps. I can see there's a bump right there from where I've been doing planing. So So I'm just going to lower this down to about 1/2 mil, and we'll be able to plane out those holes. So a little bit of a high spot just there. It's not surprising because that's where I was finishing my planing. Generally I've got this pretty close to what I want in terms of rocker. I'm just going to plane a little bit further up just to blend that in. So still a tiny bit of a high spot there, so I'm just going to play that little section there. That's pretty sweet now. Again, checking the outline as we go because we've planed through quite a bit of foam. We'll still check the outline, make sure there's no bumps in it, no flat spots. And that's looking quite nice at the moment. There's nothing really outstanding. And I'm just pretty much bang on my 3/4 mark there. So I'll just clean that up with this one here. I probably want something a little bit bigger that actually goes across the entire board, but not too bad. This one. I'm not too worried about it at the moment, making sure it's clean. I'm just checking for flat spots and little bumps in the actual surface through here. And this will sand them out as we go. But because I'm putting double concave through here and a single up through here, it's not so important that we have everything nice and clean at this stage. Do the nose. Wind it back to a mill. again, looking for any little major bumps, which we can clean out as we go. Just going to take a little bit more out through here. So I don't want to take too much out through the chest area because that's where our paddling point is. That thickness is not too bad. I can refine that a little bit more as I hand shape. Let's have a look at the overall profile of the board. So I can see where the volume of the board is, how thick the tail is, what the curve looks like. Yeah, it just needs a little bit more clean up with the rocker and we're ready to go. So I'll just pause there and we'll keep going. So I've spent a bit of time cleaning up the board, making sure that the profiles are nice and the rocker's nice. The outline is nice and smooth now. I've cleaned that up. What we want to do now is measure our rail bands. Now for this, I stick it on this side of the board because what I want to do is get my little pencil and my little foam tool, so this little D-wiki, and I've got little measurements on here. Sometimes I need to double check exactly what they are. So there's my center point. I can measure exactly how wide I'm going to be doing my rail bands. Now for this particular board I want a rail band of about 1.5 inches. And that is that second mark there that you can see, that's 1.5 inches. So I'll be putting my rail band to that and go from there. So I'm actually going to stick this board on its side. Let's get some tools out of the way so I don't damage the board. Pop that in there. Now I'm going from the bottom for this particular rail band. So I'm going to actually make 2 rail bands because I want to blend the 2 in. So I just get my pencil. I'm actually going to sharpen this a little bit if I can find a knife somewhere. Knife. Whatever. And then you'll see me do my rail bands as I go along. Alright, so I've got my little tool. Basically I'll be running along the board like so with the pencil in place, and that'll show me where my rail band is. Do the same on the other side. Flip it over. Make sure it's nice and square. Run it along. So there's my rail bands done in. I've actually just moved the foam bit there. That looks better. So what I want to do now is actually run a similar one along the deck. Now these blanks are pretty rolled already, so I don't need to roll it a lot. I also want quite a boxy rail on this board, so I'm going to run it again at 1.5 inches. But this time I'm going to start further up, near the nose, and run it around. So that's where I'm going to cut my rail. I'm actually going to blend it, so I'm going to start in narrow along here and just gradually blend it all the way along. So it won't actually hit the pencil line here, it'll be slightly further down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure at those 12 inches mark so that I get exactly the same on the other side, so I'm not making one rail thicker than the other. Now you can use this using electric planer, or you can do it with a surf form. I like to do it with a surf form, but I am going to do it with a planer today because there's quite a thick lot of foam that I'm going to be taking off. If I was doing a thinner board like a 2 1/4, 2 3/8 inch board, I'd probably use just the surf form. But I'm just going to make those cuts now. So, about to cut the rail band. Some people like to stick their board on an angle. I find it's a little bit too high with these shaping stands that I've made myself. Quite honestly, it's crap, this shaping stand. But for this purpose, I'm going to keep it flat and just work my angle. So basically what I want to do is cut this section to that line, but it'll blend further along. And we'll end up going the entire length of the board. So I've set this to 2.5 mil. So see, I've already hit my pencil line along the top there, but haven't got quite there yet on that one, so I actually need to take a bit more foam out of the bottom there. So now I'm at my pencil line there. You can see where I've gone a little bit too low. Now you can also see that I've blended the rail along, so it's a little bit thinner here and here than it is to the guts, but it's still got a bit of volume through that section of the board. So what I'm going to do is measure the 12-inch mark and see what my rail is at each 12-inch mark, and then I'll do the exact same on the other side. So just put a little mark. And another little mark. So I know when I blend my rail, that's the mark I want to hit, so that I know my rail is even and uniform the entire way when I do my cut. You don't need to see me do that. It's the same as what I did on the other side. Alright, so I've cut my rail bands. I'll come and have a look. Just unplug you. As you can see the rail bands. You can see the pencil mark still there. Again, we're looking to make sure that everything's still nice and even on both sides. It's a little bit difficult with the video camera sometimes to see what you're looking at, and it's also a little bit difficult to see without the shadows in the right spot. So what I'm going to do is, I see a little error there on the left side, is I'll clean that up and we'll go from there. You can put more rail bands in if you want. From here I just generally blend the roll as I go. Okay, so I've set up some lights on the side so I can see the shadows. It makes it a lot easier to also see the outline and see any imperfections in what I've done so far. Generally this is looking pretty good considering I had no lights on the side to see my shadows. But I can see now, you want to have your light set up about the same height as your board, and that'll make it really easy for you to see what you've done, see any lines like that where I've just made a little bit of a mistake with my planer or my surf form. I can just clean that up with the surf form. It's really simple, and that way I know that everything's just nice and smooth. I've got no real errors that I have to worry about. Again, if you do something small, do something big afterwards so that everything's nice and smooth and there's no bumps to worry about. So that's actually looking really good at the moment. Again, looking down the line, making sure everything looks even. So technically I should have a little bit more of a shadow on top that I can see what I'm doing. So I would prefer this light to be about there so I can actually see what's going on, but the best I can do at the moment. Being a true backyarder, you set it up like that, dodgy as. Anyway, continuing on, what I'm going to do now is blend this rail line onto the deck. I'm just going to use a surf form for this. It's basically, I'm almost doing what another rail band is going to go. Just blending it. Again, this is about keeping it as simple as possible. Not worrying too much about being perfect with it. You don't need to be for your first board or your second board. Unless of course you're getting a computer cut board. That makes it a lot easier if you've got one that's come off a machine, obviously. So I'm looking for that second rail band to blend in just nicely. Some people may do that rail band first. I like to do it second, just personal preference. But again, there's nothing wrong with going either way. A lot about shaping boards is personal preference. You might find some shapers do things differently. They might like to use a planer on this section as well. Or do something completely different. That's giving me a nice roll onto the deck now. Just a little bit. So looking down the board, making sure everything looks even. Pretty good. A lot of the things that you do is all by eye. You'll spend a lot of time looking down your board, making sure everything looks even. So I'm just going to roll that a little bit more onto the deck. Alright, I'm just going to roll this onto that side now. What I'm going to do is cut another rail band at about 45 degrees on here. Again, starting with a blend, start in the middle, work your way outwards and just blend it nicely. You're going to count how many cuts you do and then do the exact same on the other side. 10 on that side. Flip it over, I'll do 10 on the other. Again, we're trying to keep things simple, not overcomplicate it. Yeah, that's 10. So that gives me a nice roll from the deck onto the rail, both sides. And what I'll do is I'll just blend that as I go. You notice I haven't actually done the bottom contours yet. I haven't done the concave or the double concave through here yet. I just want to get all of the big stuff out of the way, and I'll do the concave probably just after I've done the rails. Now I want to do the bottom part of the rail. Again, 45-degree angle, thereabouts. But what I do is I want to leave about 1.5 feet from the tail that's nice and edgy like it is at the moment. And then just blend forward from that. And what that'll do is that'll just give me a nice blend and keep that hard edge at the back of your board where you need it for doing your tight turns. So again, start from the middle. That's 10. Just double check that. Probably not quite enough angle on that, so I'm just going to do it here. So notice I kind of stopped around about here, so there's a 1 foot mark, maybe a couple of inches past it, so I've probably gone a little bit further than what I planned to, but I'll just make sure that I've blended it nicely, because I want a nice boxy rail still in the tail, because this kind of board is for small waves, a little bit fatter, probably surf it up to 3 to 4 foot, but it's generally for small surf that's pretty gutless. Yeah, we'll just give it a little bit of a beak. Just a small one, nothing major. So there we have a boxy rail. Looks pretty good. This is why you have your lights now, so you can see the difference between the two rails, and you can just adjust them as you go. So it's all fine tuning from about here onwards. Right, so I want to do a concave on the bottom of this. So concave through the guts, double concave down through the tail. Now, if you're not confident with it, concaves are quite daunting. Because essentially what you're doing is you're taking a chunk of foam out in the bottom and trying to make it even. It's not the easiest thing to do. Now you can make a tool for that. Like I said, I've got a tool which will help me with that section of the concave, not so much at the front. So we use this one here, but I'm actually going to use a surfboard to get the guts out of it. And I'll probably just use the planer through here and work my way outwards. So I take a little bit more through the middle, a little bit out from the sides. And it's kind of like in a, almost like a teardrop shape, because then it goes into the double concave. So I'll just quickly do that. A little bit out to the guts here. We'll just check the thickness of it. Make sure we haven't taken out too much. Hopefully I haven't. But I've taken more out to the centre than I have through the rails. From there it'll just be a matter of blending it. That's pretty good. So I've got a little bit of room to move there. It's nearly bang on 2 3/4, which is what I wanted for the board to be. And we'll just go from there. So it's just now a matter of cleaning that up. So I'm actually going to use this curved one. I'll put a bit of pressure on that. I'm just going to change that to something a bit rougher. So this is 60 grit. Now I'm just going to take a little bit down into the stringer using my little stringer planer. Again, just still keeping an eye out on the rails. I can just see a little bit of a problem there. Some people may not see that kind of a little error on the outline. It's kind of little things that you pick up as you go along and get better at doing. So what I'm going to do now is check the uniformity of that concave. Let's get a spirit level. Good old spirit level. And what I can see straight away is that I've actually left a little bit of foam through this part of the board That's pretty good through there, but I can tell just through there I've left a little bit of foam. So I'll bring the camera and you can see what I'm looking at. Just move that forward and you'll be able to see the bit where I'm talking about. So as you can see on the left there, just through here, there's a bit of extra foam than it is on that side. So I'm just going to have to take a little bit of foam out through there and we'll just double check that. And I'll come back when we do the double concave. Alright, so I've got the single concave in. Now I want to do the double concave. I like to just use a surfboard for this and work my way through the board on both sides. So I'll just get my little thing, and you can actually see it fits in quite well with the curves I just made. Get my spirit level. So you can see that's about where the double concave starts. That's about 1 foot and maybe 2 feet up the board. And you can see that's where the single concave starts to finish. And the double starts to happen. So again, looking for uniformity. Making sure they're very similar. Probably need a little bit more out of that one. What I like to do with my tails, last couple of inches, a little bit of V, just to help with the pivot side to side. Only a tiny little bit. Just take a little bit off each side until we get a tiny bit of V happening, and you can see it start to rock back and forth. So that's pretty good. So I'll just take a little bit more foam out through there. Check that. That's pretty good now. In fact, that looks really good. So that's how we do that's how I do my concave. Some people do it differently. No right or wrong way, so long as it works out nice and evenly, nice and smoothly. I had a little break. What I'm going to do now is just roll the deck For that I just use this particular one. This has got a soft spongy surface on it. You can take that off and use it as a hard one as well, but I really like this one. Get my shaper's mesh. If I can find it. Nope. There you go. Grab that, and we're just going to run along. So now when I look down the board, I can see some high spots and some low spots with the shadows. So it's just a matter of just fine tuning those little bits. Trying to get it as even as possible. A lot of that has to do with the blank. The blanks aren't perfect. We're just trying to work with something that's imperfect, and we're using our hands to do it. Hand shaping is obviously not as accurate as having a machine shape. If you can get yourself a machine shape, that's fine as well. It's a good way just to get an eye of what's going on, but give hand shaping a go, it's really good. So turn the board on its side. If you've got the ability to put it on a 45-degree angle, that can help sometimes. What we're going to do is run the shaper's mesh along the rail. Again, counting how many times we do it, and go from there. So what we're doing is actually creating pressure along the rail to take away that edge and rolling it over. So you want to get it to about that halfway point, and then we'll finish rolling the rail on the part that we've done. This is where your rail tool comes in really handy. So you can see how the rail fits into it. This board I want a fairly soft rail through the nose. I don't want a lot of undercut because, or hard edge there, because we do want it to be easy to ride. And we don't want it to cap water through there. This is where your sponge comes in really handy, because that'll actually conform to the board even better than that other one. Gain tears, big movements, keep it smooth. That way you're less likely to create soft spots and high spots and low spots. Now if I get my rail tool, which is this little sucker here, I can undo that. Even though this is probably not the right rail tool for this particular board, still give me an idea of where I'm at. About halfway. So that's where my rail is. It's not entirely accurate for shape, but you can see that's where the rail is at. So if I use this on the other side, I can get the rail pretty much identical on the other side of the board. Alright, so I've probably spent the last 15 minutes just fine tuning it. We've got this pretty close to the finished product now. One way to check the rails, make sure they're even if you don't have access to one of these tools, which came in very handy because I actually found that this rail was a bit thicker. Now it just fits just nicely. Is you just grab it, pop it on your foot, and just run your fingers along the edge. Have a feel along the rail. Make sure there's no flat spots in it. Make sure it feels even in both hands, all the way down to the tail. And that feels pretty good. So from here it's just a matter of cleaning it up. Make sure you get your stringer down. Use your little stringer tool. Comes in really handy. Sounds like my wife's just got home. Now, as I mentioned before, I have this little sucker, and really good for doing noses. Because it fits in with the curve of the board. It's a lot easier. All it's left to do, you'll put some thin points on it, and then dimensions and sign it. So what comes in really handy is this sucker again. Now fin placements comes down to a lot of personal preference, but there are some basic ideas. For a board about this size, tail's probably about 3.5 inches up. So with this I can measure 3.5 inches really easy. And that's my tail point. Now this is going to be a 5-fin setup, so you can run it as either a thruster or a quad. So the next point, some people will do 1 inch for their quads. I prefer about 1/2 inch. To go up. That makes it a little bit easier when you set your quads up. Now on here, you've got little holes. I don't know how easy you can see it, just here and here, with also some numbers. It allows you to measure your fin distance really easy from the rail. So I want my quad fin to be 1.5 inches in from the rail. And I can do that really easy with this here, because I can actually measure exactly 1.5 inches from the rail, which is rather handy. Some people prefer their quads to be a little bit further forwards, a little bit further inwards as well. I've been riding quads for the last seven years or so. I really enjoy the speed that they give, and they also hold really well in the barrel. You don't get into the drag that you get with a thruster, but you don't quite get as much drive. Now my front fins, you just got to measure the angle in. So for my quad fin at the back, I measure them in with a toe of about 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to set the front fins up. This is a reasonably short board, so I'm going to set them at about 10.5 inches up. Depending on how long the board, the further forward your fins will go. I'm going 10.5. And that fits in really nicely with this particular board for either thruster or quad setup. Now the toe in on these ones is about 1/4 inch, so you told me just slightly further forward. The idea is you want your fins to angle in just towards the nose, just to give you a little bit of extra pivot when you're turning. Now these ones are set in 1 1/4 inch in from the rail. So there we have it, fin placements are done. I'll just grab the video camera and you can come and have a look. So you can see the fin placements there. Try and keep that as even as possible so you can see. And as you can see, the board's turned out nice and clean. Can't really see too many major bumps or anything like that that stands out. And just flip it over. So when we look down the line, we're looking for big glaring bumps in the rail as we look down the line. And you can see it's come up nice and clean. I'm very happy with this board. So I spent a bit of time just making sure the rails were even and cleaning them up. And there we go. So I just signed the board, put a name on it for the guys buying it, and put the dimensions on. And I'll catch you later.